On behalf of the Professional Baseball Strength and Conditioning Coaches Society, I'd like to welcome you to the PBSCCS Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Messina.
But, okay, so what do you believe in within strength and conditioning that others think you are crazy for believing?
So I think the maintenance, getting rid of the word maintenance, I think is a little extreme. But I believe in that, exactly what we talked about a little bit earlier. It's like you're training towards something. You're trying to achieve something. It's not just maintenance. And to eliminate that term, yeah, it sounds a little drastic, but you take away that mindset that we talked about earlier. It's like, get it out. It's not a back burner. You're not just going to hit. You're not maintaining your hitting. You're working on something. What are we working on in the weight room? And making sure that people know that is, I think, extremely important. And then another thing I actually wrote down is kind of two in the same. And I think it's becoming more prevalent now, and it's a little more drastic for sport coaches and players, is doing something every day. Whether it's, you take your 2-day-a-week workout, which is, fairly standard across sports and in-season stuff, right? And breaking that into 6 days or 5 days or whatever, like, so that you can match some intensities if you can, and volume accordingly, and sort of spread it out and space it out depending on your athletes. If a guy needs this today, everything works out well, situation works out well, he feels great, boom, let's hit it. That's his squat day. It might come on the last day of the week for all I know. It could be Sunday. Granted, probably not going to do that, but you know what I mean? But it's like those two things that I think are probably my biggest beliefs that are a little different.
I know we hammered maintenance already, but as a kid, I always thought like major leaguers were just the best players, and that's just how it was, right? And you just kind of got there, and then you just kind of rode your talent until your career was over. And like coaches were there to just flip BP, and weight room guys were just kind of there to monitor and hang out, and like and now more than ever it's totally the opposite. And like if somebody listening has never experienced the major leagues or even the pro levels at any level, you know what I mean? It is work all the time, and guys are in the cage all the time. Guys are on the field taking ground balls all the time. Guys are throwing off the mound all the time in the name of trying to get better. And the coaches there are hired because the front offices want players to get better, and they want people there to guide them towards getting better, right? And it's just so opposite of what I grew up thinking. And it's really been eye-opening for me. It's just how much guys want to get better. They're obsessed with getting better. They're obsessed with getting one extra hit a week, or one extra strikeout, every appearance, or just one or two ticks on their velo. Like guys are literally obsessed about it, and you don't realize like how much work they put in if you're not in that setting. And for me, it kind of changes the way I view programming and view training, and especially off-season training, of like getting prepared for the volume of work you're going to do. Like if you're going to be on the field every day at noon taking extra ground balls, to your backhand side, like you have to be conditioned enough to do that. You have to be trained enough to do that. And it's really changed my mindset. Not that I was ever a maintenance guy, I wasn't, but just it's kind of changed my big picture of like work capacity as a whole for guys. And then the other one, the daily programming and like just doing something every day. I think we mentioned like routines for guys, right? And when guys have success, they want to do the same thing over and over. And so it's almost like it's kind of becoming that, at least in my experience, is like if you come in and you do just enough every day to get you ready to go out and play, it's better than like 2 big training sessions a week where like, you don't do anything for 5 days and then you come in and you try to get in a a session and then you're like kind of sluggish the next day. Whereas like
Yeah.
a lot of the times, so the biggest difference for me is like we play every day, and at the big league level, especially AAA, AA, like you play to win, where like the lower levels is kind of developing. Like you play to win at the upper levels. And so it's how can you get ready to play today, right?
Yeah.
And that might be counterintuitive to the long-term approach, but the guy's going to come to you and be like, dude, I need to get ready to play today. Like my hamstring's a little sore. What do you got for me? And like, ideally we have a whole progression built out of like, okay, we could take the, but like, you have to get him ready to play today, and he's coming to you. So like, do something to help him. Right. And sometimes again, it's counterintuitive, it's counterproductive to the long-term picture, but like today is the picture. Like there is no tomorrow, right? Like we need to win today. So figure it out. So I think that has actually helped for me, is like just a little bit every day, a little bit of corrective work, a little bit of quote unquote activation or core, a little bit of lifting, and then maybe some baseball specific stuff, and then get in the cage or get out on the field. So it sounds like you're seeing similar stuff.
Absolutely. It's all about the routines. It's like you said earlier, it's like results matter.
They do, more than anything.
At the end of the day, it's like there's a chance that I could lose a job for not performing. And if it's because I'm always sluggish, I'm sluggish 2 or 3 days a week, it's like we're not doing our jobs. You know what I mean? It's like got to find a way to mitigate all that.
Yeah, so I agree with you 100%. And for people that aren't in the game, it might sound really crazy. Like, oh my God, they lift 5 or 6 days a week. They run 5 or 6 days a week. It's like, if you were here, like it would make sense. And that's a point that I've kind of been on like this soapbox lately with people. Is like, I see on social media is like people are bashing other environments that they've never been in. Right. Like I've never been a high school strength coach. So anytime I see a high school strength coach doing something, I can't be like, that's stupid, that's wrong. Like, because I don't know what his schedule is. I don't know what, the environment is. And it's like, there's a lot of people in certain settings that are bashing how pro players are training. And it's like, you've never been in the clubhouse with them. You've never been on we have a 10-day road trip coming up this season to the West Coast. Like that change, you know what I mean? That changes how I view things for that week and a half. And then even the week we get back, just the time difference, the lag from the travel, like is going to affect how we train. So like all of that goes into the thought process, or you hope that it does. Right. Yep. And that's kind of how we program. Is like, we just sit down, we look at the schedule, we think about what days are going to be tough travel, when we can get some extra early work in, and we kind of manipulate the variables that way. And I think if you've never been in, you just don't know. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's something that we could definitely, to me and to you, it's not crazy, right? Because we're here, but like some people listening be like, yeah, no, I'm out on that.
or maybe they'll say, all right, 45-minute session every day. And you're like, whoa.
No, it's not. It's like 10 to 20 minutes, get in, take care of business and get out, and then do your baseball stuff. So,
yep, just a little bit of everything.
Exactly. So what makes a strength and conditioning coach successful to you? Maybe either in the college setting, in the pro setting, just in general, like what defines success for you?
Well, currently, and I mean, we talked about it, right? It's for us, it's results. That's a part of the job. At the end of the day, it is what it is. Whether it's the main rock in success, who knows? But it is a part of your job and our jobs, right? So that's something that needs to be, I think, mentioned. And then at the end of the day, it's, for me, I've always said it, I've always believed it, it's your relationships with your players. Without it, besides the results, right, I think there's a big gap in being able to get them to do what you want to do with full intent day in and day out in college and in professional. Professional, it's an everyday sport. And in college, for an example, guy gets in a fight with his girlfriend, or he fails a test, and you guys are training that day, and he's looking at you like you have 10 heads. If you don't have a good relationship with him, for him to feel comfortable in expressing some sort, doesn't need to express everything, right? Express some sort of situation that he's in, that's like you can understand that and you can relate and you can adjust, versus rolling him out there and it's just you're pounding. So I think that is a huge point in success of a strength coach. It's your relationship with your guys, whether that's them reaching out to you, the types of conversations you're having with people. Are you talking about sports all the time? Are you talking about their families? Do you know their wives? All that stuff plays into it, and I think is very important, because at the end of the day, we're all people. And the more you treat people like people and engage in them like you want to be engaged with, the better off long term. I think your life will be, lives will be, relationships will be, everything, your careers, all of it.
I trained with one of our players in the off season, the past 2 off seasons out in Arizona, and my wife and I just went to his wedding, and my wife is friends with his wife. We know their dog, the dogs know each other, the dogs are friends. Yeah. And it's like, I've never been to a wedding outside of my own wedding, which was like 10 people. So it was not like, if you know me, like it makes sense on what kind of person I am, like that we had a super low key wedding. So this was the first wedding I had ever been to outside of my own. And it was like, this is a major league player, but he's just a dude. Like I would, I'd be at his house to watch football on a Sunday. Like we went over to Thanksgiving because the wedding was after Thanksgiving. So like we stopped in on Thanksgiving night. We flew in that night. And it's like, this is just a person. Like, yes, he's really good at baseball, but like just a person. Right. And it's like, you talk about, it's like, we have that relationship where they were willing to invite us to their special day. And like, to me, that's awesome. Like, that's the coolest thing, because we're close enough that, and that's the thing. It's like during the season, he and I worked really closely because we have that relationship from the off seasons. And like, if he's feeling something, he can come to me and we can make an adjustment. And like, that's how you get those results that you talk about. And circling back is like, it sucks that results are a part of this job, but like you said, it is what it is. And strength and conditioning is really hard to like tangibly evaluate, because there's so much soft science stuff. There's so much art of coaching stuff. But if you're really good at the art of coaching and you're really good at the science of putting together a good program and getting buy-in through results, like the results on the field are going to be better. Whether you can, objectively say like, I added 20 points to this guy's batting average. I added 5 home runs to this guy's total. I lowered this guy's ERA. You can't say things like that because you can't objectively like quantify those things. But like, if you're good with relationships with players and they listen to you and you can make those adjustments for them and you help them feel better on the field, you give them a better chance to perform. And that, at the end of the day, if we're doing that, like the team's probably going to perform well if we can put them out there feeling good and having a chance to succeed. And in a roundabout way, that's how we get results, right? Like we're all going to get fired at some point. Like we should all just, come to accept that. But if we work hard and we work to relate with the players and all that stuff, maybe that pushes our window a little bit later, right? You know what I mean? Like maybe whoever is making that decision is like, okay, I want to keep this guy around. Like, and that's it. It's like, eventually we're all going to get pushed out, right? It is what it is. But in the meantime, like I think we should, just fully commit to helping the players every day when we get there. Put your stuff aside, just help the player. And for me, I agree with you. That's how you're going to find success.
100%. And just real quick on that is like, one of the things I had a rule in college of it is like, check the feelings at the door. Something you got to do. It's always as best you can when you're, especially as a coach, dealing with something at home. You come in, it's like, all right, these are my guys. I'm working with them right now. Like compartmental, like move stuff around the best you can so that it doesn't bleed into other things. Like that's a huge, huge part of it.
Do you have advice for others in the field? We've kind of hit on it in a roundabout way on a lot of different topics, but is there anything that we haven't covered yet advice-wise?
No, I'll say it one more time. Quick to listen, slow to speak, man. Just listen. Have a presence, but listen. It has been the biggest thing I've learned about, and try my best to obviously go for.
It's really hard to do sometimes, man. We all just want to be heard and make our stake and like feel like we're justifiably there for a reason, right? Like, oh, they're paying me, so I got to do something. And sometimes the best thing is just shut up.
Absolutely. I learned it the hard way. It's like, that just kind of popped in my head, right? It's like body language is more than anything you can say. And if you have that presence in that body language, you don't need to say anything. That's when you can just listen and people know who you are, where you are, what you're doing, just by being you. So.
Yeah, I think you can tell if somebody's present, if they're not, if they're engaged, if they're not, you just look at them, right? Like,
Absolutely.
and the thing is, like, we all kind of think we're good at like masking our emotions, and like most of the time I don't think we are. Like I especially like actually wearing masks this season kind of helped me because it covered my mouth, and like I give a lot away with my mouth, and so like if I have the mask on and somebody like pisses me off, like you can't see my mouth so you can't tell I'm mad, or like I would say something to the guys and they're like, are you joking or not? And I'd like pull the mask down and they're like, oh, okay, he's joking. Like I can tell right? Like I think it helped me like mask my emotions a little bit. But if I don't have that, like I wear them just on my face, like you can tell how I'm feeling. And so we have to be like conscious of that. We have to be aware of like what we're putting out to players when they're talking to us. And the thing is, like a lot of times they'll come to us for advice, or certain situations where they're really unsure and they're on the fence. And like, if we give them the wrong body language, like that can crush them. Like if they're asking something where they just need you to support them in that moment, and you give them like one of these like, and they're like, it just crushes them. Like you can see them get crushed. So like, it's something we really need to be conscious of, and it's really hard to do sometimes.
No doubt. Absolutely.
Do you have any continuing education resources for us? Books you're reading, seminars you've attended, podcasts you listen to? Like, where do you go to just keep yourself sharp?
Well, this current off season, I think I jumped into quadrant training. Dana Bove loved it, absolutely loved it. I got muscle activation technique book, MAT, I believe is what it is. I read that. I actually enjoyed that. A lot of unique thoughts there. And then currently on speed strength. I think we talked about that a few years ago. It's like finally got around to cracking it open, diving in and learning some stuff. But for me, I like to do a lot of courses. I like to try and get involved as much as possible, whether it's like FRC is on my goals list. Obviously it's a goal. It's not getting done right now. I did the TPI thing. I thought that was a good course. And then right now the need for speed, like just wearing as many hats as possible, finding stuff that may be my weaker points, but I again falsely think they might, I can get away with some things. It's like, no, you gotta dive in and attack your weaknesses every once in a while, or attack stuff that you may not feel 100% in, and things that that's the best way I've tried to stay sharp, is diving into new avenues that I've wanted to, and it's like, just do it. Just hop in, just dive in and see what comes out of it. You know what I mean? So that's been really good. And then one podcast that I have listened to is All Things Strength and Wellness by Robbie Bork, an old colleague of mine that I met at Boyles. I don't know what it is about him. I love listening to him. He's got a lot of great information on there. So.
Yeah, that's a really good one. That's on my list too. Going off of that, it's like so for you, right? Like you attack your weaknesses, and you're a good self-evaluator on things. Like obviously, as we've been talking, like people should realize that, like, hey, I've made mistakes, but I've been willing to own those mistakes and make changes, right? And it's really hard for some people to do. Some people are really good self-evaluators, but most are not. And so for me, it's like finding a mentor that is going to openly talk to you about what you need to work on, right? And I think that's the most growth, is when you dive into your weaknesses and you're not afraid to attack those. Like if you just keep pounding your strengths, like you want to keep your strengths sharp, but if you can do that and raise those weaknesses, like you're going to become better, you're going to be more well-rounded, all of that. And so if you can honestly self-evaluate and say, I'm not good at this, I need to work on it, kudos, like for yourself. But if you're not, like, find a mentor who's going to be honest with you, and they're not going to just feed you, oh, you're the best, you're great. Like we're doing like end of season reviews, and like I'm like, Kiyoshi, can you talk to me about this? Like, I think I think I'm a good self-evaluator, but I need you to be honest with me, and I'm not afraid to hear what you have to say. Like we talked about with constructive criticism, like find somebody who's going to be honest with you, and don't be afraid of what they have to say. Just take it and understand that they're just trying to help you. And it sounds like you're attacking your weaknesses yourself, which is great. We just, more often we should do that.
Yeah, it's been really helpful with Texas. A big part of what our staff has talked about and our department's talked about is be vulnerable, and took it to heart. It's you got to open up.
Yeah, you can't be afraid of it, especially in this game, because there's so many people that are just gonna chew you up once they find your weaknesses, and like,
oh yeah,
if you're uncomfortable about that, like you might be doomed. So you just kind of embrace it and try to make it better.
For sure.
Zark, we've been at it for like an hour, dude, and it's been a ton of really good content. I want to finish with a lightning round, and then I promise I'll get you out of here. You good for that?
Oh, I absolutely appreciate it.
Okay, first one. Who is your biggest influence in the field of strength and conditioning?
For me, it's a combination of my staffs. Every staff I've worked with, again, a little bit of everyone. So the staff at URI, great. Boston, great. And right now, Texas, everyone. I can't pinpoint one. It's, again, take a little bit of everyone.
Yeah, we're kind of the product of all the people we've been around, right? I can respect that. One piece of equipment to train with, what would it be?
Power blocks. I've had them for 2 years. #COVID. You had to do it.
Biggest accomplishment professionally and or personally?
Having the courage to leave what I considered home for a long time, leaving Rhode Island, and obviously finally getting married. My wife, been together for 8 years, so it's been a big accomplishment.
Any career other than strength and conditioning, what would you choose?
Building and or flipping houses.
Really?
Absolutely love it. Currently bought a new home, and we're sitting here. I got 10 projects I'm working on.
Really?
Oh yeah.
It's something that I've always thought of for my wife and I, like buying a fixer upper and then like making it our own, like making it really cool and then flipping it. And then I really like going back to self-evaluation. I like look in the mirror and I'm like, you're not going to do any of that.
It's not going to happen.
No, it's not going to. I need to move into a house that's like minimal like maintenance, minimal like changes, renovations, because I'm not going to do any of it. I'm going to hire somebody to do it. I don't know. It's cool. Like on Instagram, I get like these before and afters. I'm always looking at houses and stuff. I'm like, man, that's so cool. People are so creative. I could do that. And then I'm like, no, I can't. No, I can't do that.
It's helped. My dad's retired, lives close by, and he's been here to help with a lot of projects. We got a new home, right? And then now it's like creating our stamp on it. So that's what we're doing now.
Well, if I'm ever in that boat, I'll call you and your dad then.
Give it a shout.
Dude, I appreciate you coming on, and it's been good catching up. And, if the listeners want to get in touch with you, where can we get more? Is social media a good spot, or is there a better place?
Absolutely. My Instagram, I believe, is pull it up real quick so I don't mess it up. I think it's just Jon Nazarko. Pretty simple. My last name, just a J and then Nazarko is what that is for listeners. And then I think that would be the easiest one. Just drop me a message on there and go from there.
Awesome. I appreciate it, man. It's been good catching up. Happy New Year's, and congrats on the wedding and the honeymoon and all of that stuff. And we'll definitely talk soon.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you having me on.
All right, everybody, that concludes this episode with Jon. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope you enjoyed part 1 as well. Just as a whole, it was good to hear about his experience in college and in the professional setting, his thoughts on maintenance and daily programming, and overall I thought it was just a really good episode, so I hope you enjoyed both parts. 3 things that I took from Jon in this episode: results do matter and will help you with buy-in, presence and positive body language will go a long way, and be vulnerable and open to constructive criticism. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll talk to you again on the next one.